Chanel once said, "In order to be irreplaceable, one must always be different." As individuals, we have rights to express ourselves in different ways. However, that freedom can be taken away when students are forced to wear uniforms. As a student who came from a uniform-wearing high school, I understand the annoyance of not being able to wear what you desire. Uniforms restrict students from expressing themselves, and it does not prepare them for their future in the real world. It is easy to say students should not wear uniforms in order for everyone to blend together, but the negatives far outweigh the positives. Lately, more and more schools have been requiring students to wear uniforms. Lauren Lipton said in her article in the Wall Street Journal that for the past few years, the number of public schools with uniform policies has grown about 15% per year. This is an unnecessary requirement, and it needs to be discouraged. Choosing what to wear allows students to find an outlet. Adolescence is a time when everyone finds themselves. This sounds cliche, but it is true. Middle school and high school can be very tough years for students. Not only is everyone going through hormonal changes and mood swings, but basic friend groups are also established. Often you are seen as popular, a loser, or just a loner. While students try to discover where they belong, choosing what they wear allows them to discover more about themselves. Outfits may seem like something unimportant, but it does make a difference. When everyone looks the same, it's difficult to understand yourself and those around you. It is important to discourage schools from implementing uniforms because it puts a barrier on students from appreciating one another. Another reason that students should be able to wear what they want is that it allows everyone to see the individuality of each person. So much can be expressed through an outfit. So many personality traits can come out of it. When students wear uniforms, everyone is the same. Rather than exploring how each person is different, schools like to mash everyone together into one. They claim that uniforms equalize everyone and it stops bullying and judgment. The American Humanist Association published an article about the disadvantages of uniforms, and the author wrote, "If students are to be prepared for the outside world, they need to be prepared for a world riddled with inequalities, injustices, and inflexible social divisions. Attempting to equalize everyone by pretending these divisions do not exist doesn't eradicate the problem, it merely disguises it. Instead of pressing students to be the same, we should encourage them to be different, to be themselves. So much worth can come from not following the crowd. Students should not feel like they have to look like everyone else. When students wear what they want, it also makes it easier for them to understand each other. You can tell a person's personality by what they wear. Annette Van Art from Northwest University said in her article, "The clothes that people wear and their modes of dress are important clues in acquiring specific cues about the wearers. By fighting uniforms, we can ensure that students will be able to express themselves by what they wear instead of sheltering them from the real world. Uniforms should also be discouraged because they're unrealistic. Uniforms not only restrain students from expressing themselves, but it also hinders them from learning how to dress for their futures. Whenever they enter the work field, they need to be prepared to dress in their own attire. Whether it be for an interview, a business dinner, or day-to-day meetings, no one is going to tell you what to wear every day. It is important to have the skill of choosing an outfit that represents yourself well. If students are continually wearing uniforms, they will not be able to pick out outfits when it actually matters. Choosing outfits is vital for the workforce, and therefore students should be able to choose early on what they think is appropriate. They can learn from their wardrobe mistakes in middle school and high school, and then they will be ready to choose their outfits later on in life." Keith King wrote in an article in the Journal of School Health, and he shared, "Instead of adopting a policy for mandatory uniforms, schools have adopted a mandatory dress code policy for teachers and students. We should be encouraging schools to have dress codes, not uniforms. These boundaries will allow students to understand their limits and restrictions while having the freedom of wearing what they please." Cost is another reason that uniforms should not be mandatory for students. I wore uniforms from the time I was in 8th grade and throughout high school. Many schools approve of uniforms because they make everyone on the same playing field, whether rich or poor. However, what most schools don't realize is that they are very expensive. Shirts were at least $30, and the pants and skirts were around $50. If schools are picky and specific shoes are to be worn as well, those are usually around $70. Winnie Hugh posted in the New York Times about a school in Elizabeth, New Jersey, and she shared, "Here in Elizabeth, district officials said that most of their students could not afford to buy the uniforms. Not only must students pay for their uniforms, but then they also have to pay for their out-of-school wardrobe. Therefore, they're spending double the money that they need on clothing. They will need 2 different wardrobes for school and normal life. The cost of uniforms outweighs the advantage of hiding who is rich and who is poor." Another disadvantage of uniforms is that they can become too specific to the point of restricting personal preferences. Not only do uniforms usually restrict clothing, but outer appearance in general. At my high school, we were told what to wear, but the uniform went way past that. Girls were only allowed to have 2 piercings in their ears, no crazy haircuts or colors, and no tattoos. The same was true for boys, in addition to not being able to have facial hair or hair long enough to touch their neck. When uniforms are implemented into a dress code, it exceeds far more than clothing. Uniforms are also a distraction from school and what is important. It is so easy to get caught up in what is acceptable to wear that students worry about things other than their schoolwork. Uniforms have an extra burden that is unnecessary. I remember in high school almost being late on multiple occasions because I was trying to find something acceptable to wear. One day, one of my friends got in trouble because she couldn't find the correct shoes to wear, so instead she wore a pair of her own. She got a detention because she did not want to be absent or late. Emma Jacobs posted an article in The Guardian about school uniforms being a distraction, and she stated, "Teachers spend time and energy policing uniforms when they could be presumably teaching us." There are many reasons that schools choose to add school uniforms into their dress code. It is sad that they do not realize the negative consequences that come from the students. As someone who used to wear uniforms, I see the trouble that they cause. They are more of a hassle than school boards realize. Not only do they limit uniqueness and freedom of expression, but they also cause stress and are very costly. Uniforms need to be removed from schooling systems so that students can spend their energy on more important matters. So just spin it over.